In this chapter, we're going to take a more in-depth look at a shot from the Assurance that I just hated. This unused shot from the council scene. We recreated this scene with our model Lucy and my wife Heather, and we're going to look at what might have made that shot more elegant. That's what we're going to do in this chapter. But in this tutorial, though, I thought I'd just lay all the cards out on the table and share with you the other shots from the Assurance that also make me cringe a little bit. Those shots that just didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, and also what I wish I'd done differently. Let's start with the sixth scene. This scene bothers me so much because there are actually a lot of elements about it that I love. I love the mood of this scene. I love the intimacy of the scene with the pregnant woman pondering the future of her baby. It also kind of feels like a funeral with the black version of the Assurance and candles. It feels dark and hopeless. It's really cool and different from the other parts of the film, but I completely blew it here with the lighting. Like I discussed earlier, I kind of like to shoot dark scenes with more light than I need if I'm going to be doing the color grading. That way I can pull out whatever I want to in post, but this was just too much light. I was trying to hurry on set because Heather was really pregnant, like it was a couple weeks before she gave birth, and she had just done Mikey's makeup for this scene. She was exhausted, so I rushed through this. Now I had intended this little light in the back to be the key light, and that would have looked fantastic. It would have set a more dire mood, and it also would have made the special effects makeup look much better. But with all that black material in the shot, our exposure for the scene was just really low, so I thought I needed to add a lot of light. But I added so much fill that I even forgot to turn off the room lights. I mean, fill light was everywhere, and that just killed the shot. The lights weren't telling the story that the life of this world is being extinguished. In addition to all that, I put the softbox way too close to Heather's head, as we talked about, which makes the light feel sourcey. And sourcey light makes color correction difficult because it's obvious that there's just a big light source just off camera, no matter how much you darken the exposure in post. I also regret not paying more attention to eye lights. When we had them, they were beautiful, but just in general, especially when I was shooting by myself or with a smaller crew, I wish I would have put more effort into having eye lights in more shots. And again, as mentioned, I particularly miss eye lights in the finale shots when this big glowing ball would obviously be reflected in Cordea's eyes. I think it also would have helped to get more establishing shots. You know, it's kind of hard when you're on set because you're there and you understand the space. And it's hard to get sometimes that other people might not get it. So we didn't get a shot that fully showed the hut or that fully showed the common area. And I think that those shots might have helped the viewer acclimate to this world a little bit more. And that also might have helped the world to feel more epic. I also regret not getting a better shot of the preacher preaching at the head of this fire pit. I really wanted this shot in my head, or the preacher with the camera elevated, to show the circular fire pit like this. But when we got to set, we had all those scheduling issues we looked at in the last training series, and there was this lamppost in the way, so I don't know if it would have been feasible, but I still wish I would have worked on it a little bit harder, because that would have been such a cool shot. Now, finally, this whole movie illuminated just how little I understand about landscape cinematography. You know, in preparation for this movie, I went back to these big epic films where landscape was just beautifully photographed. Movies that won the Academy Award for cinematography. I rewatched the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I watched John Ford movies because he was a master at capturing landscapes. I watched Lawrence of Arabia, which is known for its gorgeous depiction of these Middle Eastern landscapes, but I just couldn't get shots of landscapes that I was perfectly happy with. I tried wide lenses and long lenses, and I found some gorgeous locations. I mean, my love of the Pacific Northwest was one of the biggest inspirations for this whole project to begin with. And, you know, I think we have some pretty decent footage. I'm not ashamed of these shots or anything, but I don't know that I really did it justice. Now, I'm sure I could go on, but these are the biggest regrets I have with the cinematography and the Assurance. So let's get on to something a little bit more redemptive as we look at how to fix what I call the face-off shot.